Hi everyone and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
I'm Chickling.
So today we're going to learn a bit about the K-pop band BTS. Now we're not going to talk a load about, BTS's music or their songs. We're going to talk about an effect they've had on things in South Korea.
Yeah.
But before we get to the article, what do we know about BTS? Are you a fan?
Well, maybe when I was little, but I shouldn't say that because I think I'm around the same age as them. But BTS was formed in 2010.
Okay, so just 10, 11 years ago.
And they debuted in 2013.
Okay, so a few years of sort of training and practicing and all that stuff that the K-pop artists do.
So maybe 3 years of training before they came out. And originally their music was hip-hop.
Okay.
And now they make music in many styles.
Well, that's good. They're kind of mixing it up. Now, I do know they have 7 members.
Okay.
And a lot of stuff that's kind of been in the news in more recent times, apart from their musical success, is their work. They've worked with UNICEF, that's the kind of children's protection fund of the UN. They've spoken to the UN.
Cool.
And they've, of course, had a massive effect in South Korea.
They do. So apparently, 1 in 13 tourists come to South Korea because of them.
Wow. So if a load of people who arrive in South Korea on vacation are either there because of the music or just because the music has made them interested in South Korean culture and they kind of want to go there and get involved a bit. That is a pretty cool idea. But what have BTS done recently and what effect has it had? Let's read through the article and find out.
Reading. BTS's success influences change in South Korean law. K-pop group BTS has taken the world by storm. Their song Dynamite broke records upon its release in 2020, including being nominated for a Grammy Award. Now, their superstar standing has even helped to change the law in their home country. Under the military service law, every able-bodied South Korean man must serve in the military for 20 months. Most do this between age 18 and 28. But people with certain jobs, like professional athletes and classical musicians, can wait until age 30. K-pop fans complained this was unfair to pop stars. The fact is that the K-pop industry greatly benefits South Korea's image and economy. Because of this, the law was changed last year. K-pop stars can now wait longer for their military service. The change came right on time for BTS's oldest member, Jin, who turned 28 in December 2020. Fans celebrated the change in the law and cheered him on Twitter. The change shows BTS's huge influence, but also how K-pop has changed South Korea itself.
So we're going to start by looking at the title of the article, which is BTS's Success Influences Change in South Korean Law. Now the word we'll focus on here is influences. This is the verb. To influence something means to have an effect on something, to make a change in that thing. Now this could be in a good way or in a bad way. If something can influence something else, it has some kind of power over people's minds and thoughts, often because it's big, important, just generally powerful, and so on. We can be influenced by people we know, experiences we have, books we've read, and more. For example, you could say, my college professor influenced me to become a teacher myself.
OK， 所以 influence 这边是动词，是影响的意思。那当名词不用变，也是 influence。那比如说对谁有不好或好的影响也是一样，可以加一个形容词在前面 to have a good or bad influence on someone。比如说 My grandpa had a strong influence on my singing career。或者是呢 influence 加上加上 r 就会变成一个 有影响力的人，或者是网红 influencer， 比如说 a social media influencer, you can say that. 那它的形容词是 influential, 就是有影响力的。那文章就是说呢，这个 BTS 男团呢影响了南韩的法律。
So that's the title done. Let's start the article. It begins by saying K-pop group BTS has taken the world by storm. To take the world by storm means to be really, really popular all over the world. And we often use this to mean become very popular in quite a short time.
Yeah, 就是 take the world by storm, 就是席卷全球的意思。
And here is some recent news about BTS and their music. We see that their song Dynamite broke records upon its release in 2020, including being nominated for a Grammy Award. So here the word release is being used as a noun, and it means the moment that something is made available to the public. Now we can use this word as a verb too. We can say the song was released. But here it's a noun, so we mean the day or the time, the moment this song started to show up on Spotify and other platforms. People could listen to it, buy it, and so on. For example, we will often say, everyone was looking forward to the release of the next Marvel movies.
Release 就是发行、释放的意思。这边另外看到的 upon 就是在什么的时刻，对，这边意思就是在发行的时刻。那么 release 当名词，除了释放，它也有从监狱释放出来，也可以当解脱啊、轻松感的意思。那 release 也可以当动词哦，就是有释放或者是公开发行，意思也是很多。比如说 after 15 years in prison, the innocent man who had committed the murder was finally released. 这也太可怜了吧！那位根本没有犯下谋杀案的无辜的男人，就在监狱里面度过15年之后才被释放。
I'm sure he was
so
happy.
sad.
Well, back to the article, and another word we saw was nominate. BTS was nominated for a Grammy. To nominate someone or something is to suggest that person or thing for consideration to win a prize or to become a leader or fulfill a particular role. Movies get nominated for Oscars, and then a group will decide which one of the nominated ones will win it.
所以 nominate 就是提名或推荐，那它的名词就是 nomination. And one thing people can be nominated for is an award.
Right. An award is a prize for doing something or winning something. You just do something very well. You're the best and you get something. An Oscar is an award for different things in movies. There are others for other movies around the world. Is it Golden Horse here? I think it is. There are also awards for books, for sports, and more. Now, the award could be a physical thing, like the little golden statue for the Oscars, but an award could also be a piece of paper or just words and general recognition rather than anything real. So we could say 3 films have won 11 Oscar awards. Ben-Hur, Titanic, and The Return of the King.
所以呢 award 就是奖项的意思，那它当动词也是可以哦，就是授予什么给别人的意思。比如说 I've just been awarded for my good grades， 因为我考很好就被授奖了。那文章的意思是说呢 Dynamite 这首歌在2020年发行就破纪录咯哟，就有那个葛莱美奖的提名。So we know that BTS has done really well.
And that's not all. The article says now their superstar standing has even helped to change the law in their home country.
And now let's find out how. The article says, under the military service law, every able-bodied South Korean man must serve in the military for 20 months.
Okay, so Taiwan has a similar law. You have to go in the army. I mean, it's changing a bit and there are exceptions, but yeah, if you're able-bodied, you kind of have to be a soldier for a bit. If you are able-bodied, that means you have a healthy body that can perform military service. So people with physical illnesses don't have to be in the army, but anybody who is healthy enough to do it should do it.
OK， 我们刚刚看到 able-bodied 这一个片语，它其实是复合形容词。那我们再讲几个复合形容词的用法，比如说，一个 adjective 形容词，连字号再加上一个名词或者是 ed 我们直接看一个例句会很清楚。比如说 ，Carrie has a narrow mind and doesn't get along with most people。那这边呢，我们可以把它 has a narrow mind 改成 narrow-minded， 变成 Carrie is narrow-minded and doesn't get along with most people。那这边呢，也可以用名词连字号比如说 Greg gave his girlfriend a ring inside a box that was in the shape of a heart。那我们可以把它改成 heart-shaped， 变成 Greg gave his girlfriend a ring inside a heart-shaped box。那除此之外呢，也可以利用形容词、副词加上现在或过去分词，非常的多。比如说 good-looking、long-lasting、well-known。densely populated or old-fashioned 都是可以的，或者是呢名词或名词加上现在或过去分词，像是流口水的话就是 mouth-watering， 或者是太阳晒干的 sun-dried， 或者是打破纪录的 record-breaking 都是可以的，或者是呢数字加单位再加上名词比如说10岁的小男孩 a 10-year-old boy， 或者是小朋友 a 10-year-old kid。或者呢 50 kilometer drive 50公里的车程，或者是呢 a 1 meter long rope 一条1公尺长的绳子，都是可以的
So back to the article and South Korean military service. It says, most, meaning most people, do this between age 18 and 28.OK,
所以文章说，根据法律的规定呢，健康的南韩的男生一定要当兵20个月，大部分的人都在18岁到28岁之间去We also see that, but people with certain jobs, like professional athletes and classical musicians, can wait until age 30.
Okay, because people in those careers, it's hard for them to miss like 20 months of the career because it's so important for them to do it when they're younger. Now, we talked about some people who could wait, and we use the adjective professional. We use this to talk about people who do things for a job, for money, as their main thing. So I'm a professional writer of English articles and tests. I'm a professional teacher, but I also write stories. I'm not a professional novel or short story writer, as I can't do it as my main job. It doesn't pay enough money.Yet.
所以 professional 呢就是专业的、职业的。那所以某些行业的人，文章中讲的就是 people with certain jobs， 代表某些特定行业的人。那 profession 就是职业，比如说，所以像是老师刚刚讲的 a professional athlete, what is that?
Well, it's somebody who does some kind of sport as their job.An athlete can be anyone who is good at sports in general or one particular sport. Athletes compete at the Olympic Games, or they could be baseball, soccer, or basketball players. Now, these ones are the professional ones. They're in a team, they're getting paid, it's their job. Student athletes are just students who take part in these sports for their school, but they're not professional yet. Here's an example sentence for athlete.Greg is a great athlete who is part of the school's running and basketball teams.
就是运动员那它的形容词就是 athletic， 就是擅长运动的或者是运动员的。比如说 due to his leg injury, his athletic career was cut short. So athletes can wait until before they join the army, as can classical musicians, right?So
the word classical means of a high standard in a long tradition or form that's been around for a while. That's in general. We're talking about classical music and musicians. Classical music uses older instruments, and the people play music by composers who lived a long time ago, several hundred years ago in most cases. So casually,Classical musicians and classical music is the era of Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, and all of those others. It's music played on violins and cellos in an orchestra, pieces written a long time ago. There are other kinds of classical things, classical literature, classical art, and more, and they relate to other periods of time. So thinking about classical music, we could say, my favorite classical music is by Strauss and Wagner.
Classical 就是古典的或古典派的意思，可以指音乐。那特别指音乐就是大概在1750年到1830年代欧洲创作的音乐，那甚至都可以这样讲。比如说欧洲古典音乐时期，我们就可以说 classical period。那么这个字呢，去掉 al 会变成 classic， 它会代表经典的、优秀的，或者是典型的那种感觉都是可以哦。那当名词就是经典名作的意思。那么文章的意思就是说，有些特定行业的人啊，可以等到30岁。So only classical musicians, but not the BTS people.
Right, and we see that K-pop fans complained this was unfair to pop stars.
Why is it unfair? We see that the fact is that the K-pop industry greatly benefits South Korea's image and economy.
Right, and if people had to step away from it to do their military service, it's going to disrupt all these careers and it will disrupt the industry. An industry is a particular area of business and all the related jobs, companies, and so on that are a part of it. The K-pop industry includes, of course, the music, but also the training centers, the movies and TV shows that come out of it, the management people, and so on. We could also talk about the technology industry, so all the people and computers and companies involved in that, or we could talk about the Hollywood movie industry. Here's another sentence. The car industry is going to change a lot as more people want cars that drive themselves.
所以他们就是产业的意思哦 ，industry。所以旅游业就是 tourist industry， 电脑业老师刚有讲到 technology， 电脑业就是 computer industry， 或者是音乐的产业 music industry 都是可以。那我们再来一个例句。He was wondering if I could act as a go-between using my connections in the industry， 代表在产业里面。那这边的 go-between 意思是中间人的意思。那么 connections 这边代表的是人际关系或者是背景关系。那么 industry 变成形容词就是 industrial， 就是产业的、工业的。And K-pop is good for South Korea's economy.
Exactly. The economy or an economy in a country or a region is that country or region's money and business activities, buying, selling, making and consuming goods, and using jobs and services. Some countries' economies depend a lot on tourism. They need visitors to the country to help bring in money. Other economies depend on making things, growing food, or something else.
那 economy 它就是经济，那我讲一下两个形容词，大家可以注意一下。另外一个是经济的 economic， 或者 I think 有些人是念成 economic right 用 e 嘛，那我们也可以念 economic。那它的省钱的、节约的，我们可以说 economical 或 economical。那么文章就是说呢，一些风靡 K-pop 的人呢，会觉得这样对艺人不公平。
So the idea is that K-pop stars, and BTS has some of the biggest stars, bring a lot of money to South Korea. So it's not fair that they have to go to the army earlier than classical musicians.
Right, and the article says, because of this, the law was changed last year. 去年法律就变了呀。
And the result is K-pop stars can now wait longer for their military service.
And next, the change came right on time for BTS's oldest member, Jin, who turned 28 in December 2020.
So, yeah, he was like, I've got to go. No, I don't.
Oh, yeah, I don't have to. 所以现在呢 K-pop 的艺人可以等晚一点再当兵，也就是刚好他们年纪最大的艺人 Jin 原本要当兵的时间大概是2020年12月的时候。
And the article continues, fans celebrated the change in the law and cheered him on Twitter.
And we finished the article by saying, the change shows BTS's huge influence, but also how K-pop has changed South Korea itself. 他们的粉丝呢很替他开心耶，这样子的改变不仅显现了 BTS 的影响力，也显现了 K-pop 在韩国的重要性。
And that's the end of the article, so let's go to today's For You Chat question.
You chat.
Right? So our For You Chat question for today is, which famous stars do you think have changed things in Taiwan? What has changed because of them?
Okay, good question. Now, one that I had to think a bit about this, but one that popped into my head was somebody that I wrote about for one of our other magazines. Ooh. Her name is Tiffany Shu. I think that I'm bad on pronunciation of names.
That's okay.
But she is the first Taiwanese player in the Women's National Hockey League in the US.
Wow.
She plays for the Buffalo Beauts, or did for a while. And because of her, and she's also she plays in the goal, and she has helped Taiwan's kind of women's team win a bunch of medals in competitions. And because of her, like ice hockey, especially girls and women playing ice hockey, got a bit more popular, and kind of girls saw it as, hey, this is a sport for girls. We can do this too. It's not, because it's kind of seen as a male sport. So she helped to kind of change that view. Girls can play this sport, girls can do well, girls can go and play professionally. She's a professional athlete, using some of the words from today's article. So she's one good example of this kind of thing. Now that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
I'm Chickling.
We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review. Influence. The music I listen to influences my mood and emotions. For example, I get excited when I listen to rock music. Release. The popular Taiwanese band scheduled the release of their new album for next fall. Award. After winning the spelling challenge, I got an award for being the best at spelling in the entire city. Athlete. Athletes who get paid to play sports need to train all year to stay fit. Classical. Every Friday night, I go to a class where I learn forms of classical dance, which have been passed down by people for hundreds of years. Industry. The fashion industry changes so often that it's hard to keep up with the latest styles.
智慧小补帖
Nominate. Professional. Economy.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net